Kind of dark. Well, maybe it's okay.
I know.
That's better.
Hey guys, why do you wear your watch backwards? All right. Hey, sorry a little bit late. We're trying to get things figured out here in the shed. It's the only place we can go where it's quiet because the house is really noisy. But the lighting really sucks out here. So we're doing the best we can. Hey, Amy. Hey, Trisha. Hey, Rachel. Elisa. Nora. Good to hear from you guys. I'm glad you guys could all make it tonight. We got 68 people. So crazy. Chelsea, I was so focused on coming to this live stream, I forgot to pick up my husband from work.
Oh no.
That's funny, but not to him.
Yeah, he's probably like, great.
But he's not here right now. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of chitty chatty stuff, and then our topic that we're going to dive into tonight is going to be about debt. And I wasn't getting a lot of feedback. I posted on the Facebook about what you guys wanted to talk about. And there was some responses, but there wasn't a whole lot of interaction. So not like there wasn't like likes on other things. So it was just kind of like these one-off things. So I didn't really know. Like there's no strong thing where there was like 5 people saying, hey, I want to talk about that. So I'm doing what I want to talk about now. But beforehand, I wanted to toss this out there. Have you guys noticed that there's any ads on our videos now? Some of you might not have noticed because they're on about 50 of our mostly older videos. Chelsea says she hasn't seen any ads yet. And I just want to let you guys know that because that was a switch that we made very recently this week to start enabling some advertising, and you guys are going to notice it. And I just don't want it to like alarm anyone. And we haven't like turned communist or Republican or Democrat or anything crazy like that. So rest assured, we're still us. But we have a whole video that's like explaining it. It's just that videos are taking like a week or 2 to come out from when we film them. So that's why. I feel from Kentucky. What? Someone just gave us $1?
Whoa.
How do you do that?
That's crazy. I didn't know you could do that.
I thought we had to like enable that. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to enable that. But then that person just gave us $1. Thanks, John McDougall.
Yeah.
Here, what do you want us to do, John? I can dance for you. I can do whatever.
This could get weird.
We're for sale now. Here, I'll kiss you for $1.
Okay. Yeah.
No tongue.
Just got
if
weird.
you want tongue,
just got weird.
It's gonna be what? $5? $5.
Oh my gosh, he wants a super chat.
This person.
Is that like 2 hours?
No, that's what it's called, a super chat, when you give $1.
Oh.
But I had no idea I was even I didn't even mean to do that this time.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay, so yeah, we're shook about the $1 because we made Danielle's like so shook about it because we've been making videos for 3.5 years and we never made a cent off them like from YouTube. So it's just this weird thing.
It's weird, yeah. For us still.
Okay, so enough
Dreadlocks says, what do you get for $50? Gotta think about that one.
I don't have to think about it. Okay, the last vlog we released, which was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Was about us getting out of debt and how big of a financial impact that had on us.
Yeah.
Cammie, unfortunately, hasn't seen the episode yet because she's not that big of a fan.
Oh man, no, I just live with you.
Yeah. So we're on the same page with all that. So what I thought would be really kind of unique to do with this live stream, because we're on this, this is still an experiment. We're doing a live stream for 4 weeks straight, once a week, and this is the 3rd one. Is I wanted to like do like kind of a live workshop with some of you in this chat. Okay, so there's 104 people. So what I want you to type right now, if you have access, is who in this live stream has no debt? And this is not bragging. This is just like conversation. Okay. If you're up for saying that, and you can just type no debt if you're one of those people. And we're going to be talking about debt for, let's just say, the first 30 minutes at least, depending on how it goes.
Oh,
so yes, mortgages count. Mortgages are debt. Student debt, credit cards, owing friends, owing family. We're going to do general Q&A for the second half. So hold those questions, please, because we really want to get to them. Wow, a lot of people.
We have like at least 12, 13.
Lily Lynn says, I was born with no debt. Then I took a breath. Okay, no debt for a 22-year-old through school. That's great. Yeah. Heather Q, moderator, recently debt-free till we buy a house next month. My sister, $10 though. Hey, why are you even talking? Pay your sister $10. Oh, I saw your comment, Heather Q, about having a dream about us. And I was going to say that the only way we can know if it's true is if you tell us what the dream was, and then we can tell you what actually happened. Amy says no debt. Sarah, wow, good job. Yeah, that's really incredible. I'm like really surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be, because maybe you guys are attracted to these types of folks. That kiss for $1.
Yeah,
because you're a bunch of cheapskates too. Cool. Okay, so now what I'd like to hear is who here has debt.
Whoa, Mary says she just paid off her mortgage today.
Is that a coincidence? Mary Pacini, did you pay off your mortgage today? Why did you do that?
Tell us more.
That is really crazy. That's a huge decision.
Yeah.
Like people do that like once in a lifetime, and not even that anymore. I'm really fascinated by that. Okay, so Sarah has debt, Trisha has debt. No shame here, no shame. No. Because actually, those are the people I want to talk to the most today.
Nope.
By the way, I've never done this before, and I have no idea how this is going to go. Okay, Melissa says 65K in student loans. I feel like that's probably going to be a pretty normal story. Gaelic says lots of debt. Gaelic, thanks for that link. I posted it on our Facebook today, but I couldn't link to you because it wouldn't let me. About some of you guys might have seen on our Facebook page, there was like these teachers from, is it Denmark, that like they have this like forest school, really cool. Jeff says debt. Chelsea says we just bought a house, that's our debt.
And I'm annoyed.
Mortgage holder, student loan. Okay, so this is my question for those of you with debt, and I guess it could be for anyone, but I'm not really I don't want to preach to the choir on this. So some of you guys who don't have debt, you can listen along, but who has debt? I want to hear your response to our video that we put out yesterday. And really what I'm getting at is I want to know what you disagree with. I don't want to hear you say to me like, oh yeah, that's so cool, yada, yada. I want to hear the parts, like let's get real and talk about what is it about that message that either was new or that you disagree with or that you feel like you can't connect with. Like what part of being debt-free is not accessible to you in terms of its feeling? That's really what I'd like to talk about today.
Real quick, Mary just told us a little more. Just got lucky with an art sale. Was already planning on paying off my mortgage this week and saw your latest video about the financial decision you made. Oh, that's cool.
Man, that is kind of nice.
Winky dink.
Huh. When will you guys have merch? We'll talk about that at the second half. Okay, Zappy Zap says, did you either of you go to college? I went to a year of college, and Cami went to 4 years of school, and we did not have debt, but we did have parents that helped out with some of the college. So, you know, that's where it's kind of like a little bit, I understand that we have an advantaged perspective. Kyla says, I like the video because it gave people hope. Okay, Randy says, the world makes it hard not to have debt. Yes, I agree with that. Mountain Mama says, I've got debt, credit card, mortgages, and okay. So I still want to hear from people. Like, what do you agree with everything in the video? If so, why do you still have debt? Like, where's that disconnect? And I'm not trying to make you sound stupid. I'm just actually just trying to get at the root of like, why are some of these things, how do we undo them? Okay, so Chelsea says, never thought of not having a mortgage. Okay, I can pause this by pushing Alt, I think. Yeah. Okay, Chelsea says, never thought of having a mortgage. My parents were really pressuring us into getting a house, and it just seemed like the next step. Okay, let's talk about that for a second, because that resonates.
That's a really common
with me
narrative, I think. I think especially if you get married and have kids, there's this pressure to own your own house. And maybe even if you don't get married and have kids, but you're at a certain age in life, like in your 30s, like, oh, you should have a house by now or something like that.
And I think a lot of people view housing as kind of a non-negotiable in terms of debt. They almost, like someone even in the beginning of the chat, I said, who has debt? And they're like, well, are you including mortgages? As if it's like a separate category. Mm-hmm. And I understand why they're asking that, because a house is deemed as like not a luxury item. But
it's like more of a necessity. It's felt as a necessity.
It's felt as a necessity. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I think that feeling, I don't think it's doing us a service. It is in the short run, but in the long run, as a society, if you look at how much we're paying at interest and how much of our energy goes towards paying down mortgages.
And it feeds this mindset of shell out money you don't have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to catch up on some comments. Okay, Kim says, after I watched your video about debt, I figured out how quickly I can pay off my credit card. Seriously. That's cool. And I guess what I'm wondering for Kim, so if you come back at this is going to be like really hard to track. I didn't really think about how I was going to do this, because what I really want to do is like talk to one or two people and have it just be like a public conversation. But I'd love to hear, Kim, how aggressive you plan on being. Because, and I think, Kim, you probably represent a lot of people, that everyone views themselves as like paying it off quickly, but it's the definition of quickly that what I really want to encourage people to that have that goal is just to say, you can probably do it a lot sooner than you think. Mm-hmm. And the way you could do that is if you take your paycheck, let's say your paycheck is $1,000, we'll just say, a week or a month, whatever you want. And of that $1,000, you decide how much needs to go to necessary, like food and housing, or whatever you absolutely cannot cut. And then you decide based on what's left over, how much you want to go to debt. So let's say housing is $300 and food is $200. Now you have $500. So you can say, I'm going to put $400 to debt. Mm-hmm. And then you have $100 left over. And that $100, you then be like, well, maybe I can afford Netflix this month, or maybe I can't, or maybe I have to cancel something for a little bit, instead of the other way around, instead of like shelling out all this money.
Instead of the debt getting the leftovers of your money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly says, what are your thoughts about being able to really afford a house when you can't save $400K to purchase a house that would work for a family? We have no other debt besides our house. Well, okay. I'm going to answer this as quickly and as honestly as I can. I really don't want to go on record as saying that debt is like wrong or evil or that no one should have it. I just want people to see like how much it costs them. Mm-hmm. And I have observed this phenomenon. If you were to save up $400,000 cash, which I'm just going to toss out some numbers, there's a good chance if you're buying a $400,000 house that you're making at least $60,000 a year to get that kind of mortgage. Okay. Now, if you were to take $60,000 a year, and if you were to say, like, let's live off of $40,000, including rent, and maybe that means you're like downsizing. I don't know what kind of downsizing, like what you could rent, but I actually think for $40,000 a year, I think people can live a fairly comfortable life if you're comparing it to historical or international standards, not compared to your peers.
Yeah.
But at $20,000 a year, well, it's 25 times 4. In 20 years, you would be paying cash for the house. if you set aside $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's not even including if you would invest it.
But most people want the house before that 20 years.
Yes. And the downside is you end up paying, it takes you about 40 years to pay because, well, at least that amount with interest and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, I'm like not doing it justice, but so I don't know. I just want you guys to be aware of that, that possibility. Okay. Lily Welly Toss says, honestly, I think we were programmed when we were young that a mortgage is a rite of passage. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think I've probably had more mortgages than most anyone I know, like millions of dollars of mortgages. So that's why I consider myself slightly qualified to address this. We're not like Mr. and Mrs. like no debt ever. Okay, so Chelsea asked an interesting question. Disconnect. Now with where we are now that we bought the house, what do we do from here? You know, Chelsea, I don't think it's funny talking to you online after talking in person, but I don't think there's an easy answer to that because there are transactional costs in, you know, selling the house. But I guess what I would say is this is like, just because we make decisions, a lot of times we can get like married or like overly devoted or loyal to a decision as if we have to like live it out because it feels kind of stupid to undo it or to go back on it. And I would say for us, the second we believe that something's a right or better way, I think one of our things that we've benefited from is not getting married to decisions we've made in the past. There was this like Hank Green tweet and it said something like, you don't owe your past self anything. The old you is dumber than the new you or something like that. And it's helpful for me because it was like, oh, I feel like because I made this decision 5 years ago that we were like going to go to this church or that I was going to make this special trip or go skydiving when I was 18, that I have to stick with that. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, you're smarter than whoever the version of you that did the decision 1 year ago or 1 month ago or 10 years ago. So, you know, we have no idea what any of you guys should do, but my guess is you have more wisdom now than you used to. So Melissa Monty says, so for me, debt was an important part of nurturing my passion and getting to where I want to be in life. That is really well put. And I understand.
Because I think it's not black or white that way. I think for some people it can help them getting in debt, and for other people it can actually really handicap them.
Well, in a way, it's always going to help you. I mean, everyone is buying something they're passionate about, right? Whether it's a house or
it's true.
Or you know, a hobby or a school or a degree or whatever it is. I think the question isn't should you support your passion. The question that debt poses for me is when should you support your passion,
or how? Like maybe you can still support your passion, but not in the way that you want to because you don't have the funds for it. But you might have to settle for something less for a while if you want to stay out of debt.
Jackson says, I'm going to be going to college soon. Do you have any advice in staying debt free? My advice for staying debt free is to not take out loans. I mean, that's
kind of the only way.
That sounds like maybe really simplistic and kind of stupid, but I mean, if you get to a point in your school where you can't go anymore without going to debt, I mean, and this is how we made our decisions, how we would make our decisions with our kids. I would quit school over going into debt and then save up to finish your school. And there's a funny thing that happens when you start saving up is money that you spend that you saved is different than money that's not yours that you spend.
So you might decide to still go to school, or you might be like, actually, I don't really want to because this was really hard to save up. And it's not worth it to me.
Joe says, I've come to realize that if you can't afford it, you don't need it. Your videos help me think differently. I'm out on my bike and shoes, losing weight and not spending money. That's great.
Wow. Yeah.
Dave Ramsey has similar philosophies on debt and living within your means. Also, I have many friends justify mortgages because the rental rates are sky high. Yeah, I get that. And I think it's important to say that and this is why I wouldn't categorize this as being like anti-debt. I think we're like more pro-freedom. And I just want to show people that in the long run, usually debt costs you more freedom later on. You feel like you get more freedom now.
Yeah.
But there's pros. The pros is you start living like you have a bomb ass income with a bomb ass house. And who doesn't want that? Like that's really a cool, nice feeling. It's just inflated. So Allison says, I think there's a lot of pressure to keep up with the Joneses. You want to read for a while? I feel like I'm reading a lot.
Allison. And achieve the American dream, which drives many people to take on debt. There's a fear of missing out. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Because you don't want to be the only one that's not doing all those things, like getting a house and getting a degree and all of that.
Okay, it's this Janet person says, go for it.
Janet says, I love the way some of my Chinese friends bought a house and basically they camped out in it while they paid it off in 7 years. Wow. By the time they were 30, they had cash flow for a nice life. Whoa. So I think she's saying,
can you hold this button down? I realize the stream's lagging because the kids are all watching stuff.
We gotta tell kids to stop watching stuff on the internet for now. So they camped out. I'm assuming you're saying they lived on very little and didn't buy a lot of stuff just so that they could put all that money into paying off their house in 7 years. Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at it. It's cool to see that that's like possible. I think in the American mindset, it's hard to think that that's possible to camp out in this nice house you just bought. I mean, you have this knee-jerk reaction. Well, now I need to fill it with nice things. But they didn't do that.
Well, I remember thinking, so where we live, there's houses that are pretty cheap, like unlike Seattle or probably some on the West Coast, but some of the houses we bought are like $7,000 or $40,000 or $60,000. Now they're not necessarily like livable by most people's standards, but there was a house like 5 miles away that was $60K. And back then I had probably 30 or 40 employees, and a lot of them we were paying like $68K.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, why doesn't one of those employees that's making $68K buy that house and then live off of $8,000 in 1 year? And we've eaten out of a dumpster for a year. Like there's ways to eat off $1,000. Like it might be rice, literally rice and beans. And you might not have electricity, but we lived on the Appalachian Trail for 5 months this year, and you can actually like do this. And then in 1 year, like you just don't spend anything. You don't do anything. In 1 year, you own a house.
Yeah.
Now, I get that's like crazy, wacko, extreme.
Yeah.
But I want to like just toss that out there as a question to like go to the other side of actually paying 30 fucking years
to pay it off.
Like where does all that, and people are like, then they feel like they're still scraping by and they can't afford, things. I just think it's like a mindset thing.
Yeah.
I still want to hear from people that like don't agree. So I know, and I kicked all the kids off the Wi-Fi, so hopefully we have no more lagging. Sorry about that, guys. But I want to hear like who this is really hard for, because I don't know. This could just be like everyone be like, yeah, debt sucks. We're all good at no debt. Where are we?
Okay. So Karen says, sorry if this has already been addressed, but when you have a house payment of $600 a month and a decent apartment to rent is over $1,000 and can go up over time, how is not having a mortgage the way to go?
When you have a house payment,
$600 a month.
Oh, so she's saying the house payment is cheaper
than renting an apartment?
So, the math is like really tough. There are a few times I think where it actually makes more financial sense to rent. But I guess two things I would toss to buy. Yeah, sorry, to buy.
To get a mortgage.
But there's two things I would be careful of. One is there's a lot of hidden costs in buying that a lot of people don't realize. And the second thing is there's kind of a mental shift that takes place, I've noticed in us, when you start living a lifestyle that's inflated, that tends to impact a lot of other areas of life. Mm-hmm. And then you end up paying more. So in reality, it seems like you'd be saving $400 a month, but you're actually not.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think you kind of get stuck in that mindset for longer, probably. Like once you take out that mortgage, it kind of just, unless you're like Janet's Chinese friends, like in actually, because they didn't inflate it on anything else in their life. They just like worked on the mortgage and that was it, and then so that's unique though, I think.
And then this is the I guess the final thing, which has been, we kind of made these bold statements. Well, I did in this last video, saying this has been the biggest decision for us. And the reason wasn't actually financial. It had to do with freedom. Now, when you get a mortgage, the typical minimum 15, but usually 30-year, let's just say 20-year mortgage, you're actually locking yourself into a 20-year commitment. So I want to just do this experiment real quick and ask, where were you 15 years ago? Okay, so 15 years ago,
we were married for 3 years.
Living in Kirkland, which is where I thought I would live for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Well, unless I moved to Africa.
We had
two
kids.
We were on welfare.
Yeah.
I never thought I would ever make more than 6 figures.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And
that's crazy. Man.
I mean, I guess the point we're making is so much happens in 15 years.
Yeah.
Like to make a financial decision or a commitment based upon 15 years of emotional, mental stability. And I don't mean stability in the right way. I mean, like you actually can't, it's expensive to change, especially mentally, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So anyways, without a mortgage, I always think if we want to, we can walk away from everything right now. And we can do a trail for 5 months or 2 months, or we can move to Antarctica.
I don't think people realize the emotional cost that getting a mortgage does on people. Because we've seen people, I mean, we have people that we know that got a mortgage and it felt like all of a sudden they had this huge burden on them that they didn't have the day before. And, for some people, the burden's worth it. But I think it's important to know it's there.
Heather Key says, my dad always talked like debt is morally bad, but sometimes I think that mindset held him back in life in terms of low risk investments he passed up. From between my
cautious dad and reckless husband.
Well, yeah, I think it's really easy for people to make it morally bad. It'd be really easy for us to, honestly, as well.
Especially in the past.
Yeah, I just think that's oversimplifying. And I think that one of the reasons why we come out as strong as we do, one is we don't talk about it all the time. So when we do, I'm like, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. And two is I think we live in a culture that has a ton of emphasis on the other side. So I don't mind tossing out our opinion out there because I'm figuring you guys know the benefits of the other side already.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Rainier. Game of Thrones can wait. You're hogging the internet. No, we only watch that as a family. I think.
Right.
Okay, where are we? Oh, you know what? We're past our 30 minutes. So we can do general Q&A now. Let's wrap up a few of these comments and then let's go here.
Okay. G Tribe says Seattle, cost of living in Seattle is crazy. Yes. And it only got crazier since we moved from there. Yeah, I don't know how anyone affords Seattle, to tell you the truth.
Wait, Are you reading? Or is there nothing else?
Well, I didn't read the whole thing, but
okay.
Let's see. KT list. Currently deciding if law school is right for me. Is the $200K price tag worth the not super great job prospects? It's hard to envision getting a law degree without going into debt.
Man, that is tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. It's sad to me that in order to become a lawyer, you have to go into debt. I mean, that can be with a lot of things. It's just, ugh.
For that, I would say, how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you go down that route, I mean, I've talked to quite a few people that have done that type of thing, either on the legal or the medical side.
Yeah.
And they've invested their entire life savings, not actually their past life savings, but their future life savings into this. And now they are so like stuck, and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And it's like they can't change their mind because they're too emotionally invested.
Yeah, totally invested.
Now, I'm sure there's stories where it's not like that, where there's people that are like, oh, I'm so glad I did this.
Right.
But I don't know, like committing to the next 20 or 30 years of your life or something like that, it's not something that I would have found like very beneficial. Or I don't know if I was capable of it. Maybe it's another way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, general Q&A. Okay, we're done. I don't know how that went. I don't really. It's so hard with this like chat box.
It's hard, yeah. I feel like people who are watching us have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, because we're kind of maybe only talking to one or two people at a time, it seems. Okay. If you guys have...
I know plenty of... Okay, G6 Tribe says, I know plenty of broke lawyers. That's actually really the truth. You know, if you guys are interested in some out-of-the-box financial thinking, I would check out a guy named Seth Godin. I just listened to his podcast this last week with Tim Ferriss, and he's like really good at a different angle of economics. So I recommend him while we're on this topic.
Sarah says, I'm really hoping your words sink in and inspire me to make changes. I don't disagree with your message. It's just that your message implies making those changes we put off, and that's scary. Thanks for being honest with that. I do think it's really scary. Well, any change is scary, I think.
And what I don't want, Sarah, I really appreciate that. That kind of made my day. Maybe this makes the whole live chat thing worth it. Is I don't want you to feel bad. We're not trying to make you feel bad because you aren't making the right choice or our choice or whatever. But part of what this vlog is about is to show you what's possible with family and with finances and scheduling and stuff like that, even like with kids. And then the finances, we want to show you like how it was accomplished. But the showing you what's possible is important that we do that first, because we want to inspire people so that you might see something in our life. Maybe it's taking 5 months off and be like, wow, that was kind of cool. How'd they do that? Because I can't afford to take 2 weeks off life without da-da-da. And then I want that to be like a motivation for some of you guys. Not that we have the best way, but some of you guys find our brand of lifestyle attractive. Some people hate our lifestyle and they're like, I would never want that. And this isn't really for them so much. But for those of you guys that are interested in this, I want you guys to use our story and us taking the energy to share our story as leverage to help you to say, when you're making that extra purchase that you can't afford, to say, hey, it's either this or that. And now you have a that. A lot of people never had a that before, where they had something to really kind of shoot for. So, you know, maybe you would set a goal of what it could look, what you want to do when you are out of debt. Like, you know, one of the things that I love about our life the most, I think I mentioned it in that last vlog, was that I can sleep in and have coffee with Cammie every morning. That's the coolest thing. When I was working like a dog to pay off debt, for some reason, I never had that luxury. I didn't even see it was a luxury. I thought it was like impossible or stupid or something.
And even mentally, you can't afford yourself that luxury because you have the debt to pay off.
Daniela says, so the husband and I don't see eye to eye on paying off debts. He views debt as a way of life in today's society. What would you say to that?
That's hard. I don't know. Get different checking accounts. I mean, how do you like? That's like, I don't know. I think you have to come to some kind of compromise to make it work.
And I would say don't give up in sharing your opinion. I think some people, I'm not saying you do this, but some people nag and then they give up. When I would say finding constructive ways to continue to share what's valuable to you, but not do it in just nagging reactive ways. Bring your part to the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, this is sexy.
Okay, I can do this. Electrician to general Q&A. Are you guys anti-vaxxers? And what does Ben do for a living?
We're not anti-vaxxers. I'm not opposed to it. And what do I do for a living? I got a buck on this live stream. This is what I do. We're living off of a combination of savings and rental income, and we have loans that, I mean, it's kind of weird to say. We give loans, so we make money off of interest, not like all those combined. And one of the things that we're talking about in next week's vlog is how we're starting to think about monetizing this vlog and become New York Times bestselling authors. That's a joke.
Okay. Joe, this is another debt question. Jovi.
Do we still have to talk about debt questions?
No, we don't have to. But how to get rid of debt efficiently? Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Where are we going?
Alexa says, now I'm going back, but she said, I just think having discussions about debt brings awareness. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We'll go down. Josie, do you think you'll hike the PCT?
You know what?
We've been talking about it
on our run today.
That's all we're gonna say.
Yeah, this Lilo and Toss says check out Khan Academy for some tutorials to understand mortgages and loans. Khan's video comparing the price of buying a home versus renting a home, it blew my mind when I watched that like 8 years ago. Because he shows how it's actually, you don't save money buying a home compared to rent when you take in all the costs. How about next week we cover health? Man, healthcare would be a good one.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's a great topic for next week.
Regina, Eden, have you eaten summer sausage since the AT? No, definitely. None of us have, really.
Heather says, I'm super inspired by your freedom to be together so much.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
By the way, next week, I think we might do a kids one.
Yeah. So, yeah, this week, no kids. Next week, we'll try to get some of them on here. Lacey, do you have expectations for your kids upon high school graduation? Would you ever ask them to move out?
Yes, I would absolutely ask them to move out. Not just because of high school graduation, but if they were like, if it
wasn't working for us anymore and probably not for them, then
absolutely.
Ben has no problem asking them to move out.
But it has nothing to do with high school graduation or age per se.
Yeah, yeah.
We can be those like Chinese people that all live in one bedroom,
one tent.
By the way, we've opened this to general Q&A. So if you have, and we're going to do this for another 20 minutes or so.
Okay. Somebody said, I wanted to thank you guys for talking about finances. You guys were my first motivation to really get serious about paying off my debt.
That's so cool.
Oh, thanks for sharing that.
I always feel like I have this thing that's just like personal, I guess, where you guys probably felt it on that other vlog where I feel like people look at us as entitled, and what's the word people use nowadays? Where they say you're like some white person that's privileged.
Yeah.
And then they discount. They're like, oh, well, you don't know what it's like, so you have no right to speak to me. And I'm like, that sucks, because that just makes it discounts everything I say and my story. And I really care about people, and I don't look down on people with debt. I really love our life, and I think other people love our life because they take time to watch it on videos, at least to a certain degree. So I'm like, well, I want to connect those two things. And she's like, the finances are connected. I don't think they need to be the most important thing at all, but if you ignore them.
Yeah.
So thanks for saying that. It actually helps me out.
Yeah. Keith, too many people try to live lifestyle beyond their income. Definitely true. Victor, what do you interacting with people who consider good financial results from fun activities? Not sure.
I do not know what that means.
I can't understand that. Like Trish, I don't have a problem with you guys monetizing at all. You do it. Okay.
Josie M, can you bring Deb down? No, she's inside, but we'll see if she'll do the whole next podcast.
Yeah. Heather Q, that surprised me that you are cautious about being in debt, but not so much about charging interest. Are
you being serious, Heather, or not? Because if you are, I had all sorts of those moments like early on where I felt really like bad about doing that. You know who this is really weird. Do you know who the first person I think I ever charged interest to is?
Your parents?
I think it was my parents, because I paid off my parents' debt. Like, okay. I don't think they're watching this now, but when I was like, when we first got married, and but I realized that by not charging interest, sometimes you're like really not helping anyone. And I really want people to get out of debt. So I've like gone back and forth. There's a lot of people I've given like debt-free loans to, and I've regretted that. You know, I've had all sorts of funny thoughts on that. Yeah. Anyways, it is a weird thing though.
Allison says, what was the largest, hardest lifestyle change you made during your debt payoff period?
You know, we have a different story with this that makes it not really relatable to some people, in that we had enough money like in our account to pay off our debt. Because I was making a lot of money at the time. We just weren't paying it off. So it sacrificed us like future investments.
I think we did make sacrifices though early on, like our first 5 years of marriage,
to not be in debt.
Especially just like school debt. We didn't get a house right away. We rented, and
we always said we ate out of a dumpster for a year.
We did that. We just ate cheap food. We didn't go out much. I don't know. So Netflix wasn't around then. So
we did have the Blockbuster Freedom Pass though.
Yeah,
we'd do it for 1 month, and we would rent so many movies, like because we were across the street from it, so we'd try and get like 3 movies a day. There's like DVDs that you had to like just get one at a time.
We're those people who are totally dating ourselves right now. It's awesome.
Do you have a religion? I don't know even like really how to answer that.
Yeah.
People that have been around long enough can probably answer that better than I can.
Down.
What do you guys do for schooling? That was all of last week's live stream. You got to go back and watch that.
Chelsea has one Q&A. How are no rules going with Rainier? I can't see it. Can you go down one more? I did see the recent video with Cammie talking about a bit. Any tips with parenting a toddler? Oh man.
First of all, we have a whole no rules update coming out this week because it was like the end of we're doing it at the end of every month. So that's a general update coming up.
It was the end of 3 months,
wasn't
it? Yeah.
Do you want to talk about tips with parenting a toddler?
Oh man. No, because I don't know. I mean, it's such a balance, I feel like, between listening to him and his needs, but then not letting him walk all over me. And it's a really hard balance to find. I think I tend to err more on letting him walk all over me. So there you go.
Shella,
I loved your Shabbat video. Any advice for solo people in starting a modern Shabbat practice? Learning so much from your YouTube. Huh. I like that. Modern Shabbat practice. Yeah, because that's kind of what we're doing. We do too. Like, we're not Jewish, really. I mean, I would start small, like do something that you're like pick one day out of the week and do something and like that you really enjoy, like make it restful for you, for yourself. I mean, it sounds basic, but it actually I think is really have a lot of grace on yourself because doing that type of thing once a week is very our culture doesn't know what to do with that kind of thing. So it took us like 8 years to get used to having a Shabbat every week. I mean, it's hard. It was hard.
But it took a lot of thought of like figuring out. There's no right answer for everyone.
No right answer.
It's like whatever is work for you, take a break from that, say no to stuff. Yeah. You know, for some people it could be staying in, for some people it could actually be going out. Right. But don't be afraid to spend the money. I know this whole video is about not spending money, but if there's ever a time to spend it, I think for us that's been valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is funny. Stephanie says, have you guys been able to potty train Rainier? Okay, so the answer is no. But just a funny story today. He came in and no one was around. He like took his diaper off and he just went pee in this little thing that's sitting there.
We have just a portable potty.
He just like did it himself. So I guess if you wait long enough.
Which that reminds me, I need to clean it out because you didn't clean it out, I'm assuming. Oh, I need to clean it out before I forget. And then 2 weeks later, that pee's still there.
Dude, Heather Q totally moderated this guy. Who Debra bless is deleted. Tips for screaming toddlers, especially towards siblings. Wow.
I don't always do this, but I think sometimes I realize when my kid's screaming, they kind of just need a hug. Like, because like my tendency is to want to push them away from me because you're screaming, but something usually is going on, you know, and they're having a hard time with something. And so to do something counter to what maybe I want to do, I don't know. Sometimes that doesn't always work, but sometimes it actually really calms them down and helps them.
I think a lot of it comes, and actually I'm going to plug our podcast, which we're recording tonight because we didn't record yesterday because there was an emotional meltdown situation.
That's right. I had an emotional meltdown
that I wasn't able to deal with super well.
And then Ben had an emotional meltdown because I had an emotional meltdown.
So we're doing back-to-back recordings and we're doing it tonight. But it's all going to be the biggest thing about how we see kids that I think we have to offer the world. That it's the biggest thing that's changed us. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But there's a way to answer the question where I feel like, I don't know if you're asking this, Sarah, but some people would be like, how do you keep a toddler from screaming? I don't know if you noticed Cammy's answer, but my answer would be the same at this point. It's actually, what can we learn from a toddler screaming, which is very different. And usually the toddler is trying to communicate something, and that's the only way they know how. So you can like shut it up, but when you shut up the communication, the thing that is on the inside that's trying to come out is going to be either stuffed or misdirected or just come out bigger later. That's like, I think that's like psychology, like counseling 101 or something like that.
Yeah. I think I've come to learn that screaming, because in our culture, a screaming kid, you just like want to shut it up, right? But I've just come to realize that that's not very kind and helpful to the kid and really to anyone. I mean, it's helpful to your ears, but that's, I don't know.
So Mountain Mom asked this question, tips and tricks for living off a small income would be great. It's been impossible to not be in debt with 3 kids. And they only bring home $1,500 a month. Okay, so I don't really know your situation. Like, so I don't want to like come across as sounding trite. Like, I don't know if you're a single parent or, you know, if there's medical stuff going on, but honestly, I don't have many tips or tricks. The thing that I would say is like, do not go in debt. Can I even say that? Like, don't get the credit card, don't get the loan. Like, allow the natural limitation to just exist. And in those moments, when you feel the pain, that's when the creativity flourishes. When we were on the AT and we were like sitting out there in the woods and we're like out of fuel, that's when we like figured out how to cook our food without fuel. Like we wouldn't have done it if we were in a town and if we had a credit card. But it was when we had to figure it out, that's when we figured out. And we borrowed it from people sometimes. We borrowed food from people we never would have asked for, you know, but we were just in these scenarios that the limitation breeds the creativity. So, you know,
yeah,
I don't know.
Whoa.
Holy crap.
Someone just gave us
$4.99. Where'd that come from? How do you do that? Naftali. All right, that person was in a long time.
Our podcast shares. Thank you, Naftali.
Oh, dang.
Aww.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, in our podcast world, where we have these really lame, hard chairs that we sit in.
Stools, yeah, with no backs.
That's great. Wow, that makes...
For us, but thank you.
Are we supposed to kiss again?
I know. It's okay. Let's see. So
this one.
Addison asked, would you consider making another Enneagram video? Your first video really inspired me in my spiritual growth, but I need help filtering through various tools. That's cool. I'm glad you liked it. That video felt all over the place, but
because you put your daughter in charge of it.
Dove and I enjoyed making it. And she's so passionate about the Enneagram, so I feel like that'd be a good thing for us to do another one, I think.
Briley Majane says, I'm wondering if you let your kids curse and if you have any boundaries about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't call it cursing, but we let them say whatever words they want. And are there any boundaries? The only boundaries would be...
the little kids. The little kids are hard for me, not because I think there's anything morally wrong. It's more of a social, like, are you going to say that like in front of and so, and then I'm going to be like, feel like I'm a shitty parent. Honestly, that's what it is.
Well, I know, but do you have boundaries? Because I don't have boundaries around that.
No, I haven't had to.
Well, that's not it. She's asking.
So, but the older kids, we let them. Oh my gosh!
Just gave $10. We're like total sellouts now. No, we'll click on them to find out. But hang on, we got to finish this thought.
The older kids, like one of our kids swears and or says those 4-letter words. And I mean, it's a little bit like, not shocking, but it's a little bit like, oh, but I'm like, I'm fine with it.
We have a whole video about this.
Yeah.
If you look for it, you'll find it.
We've evolved a
lot. But our
only
boundary is if bigger kids are picking on smaller kids or calling them names, it doesn't matter if it's cursing or not, but just any words, that would be a boundary for us.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we got to skip all you broke ass people and go to whoever gave us $10. The Rip City 52. They didn't even say anything.
Oh wow!
They just gave us $10.
Thank you,
all right.
7 Rip City 52.
Thanks. We can go back to that.
Awesome.
Everyone else. Okay. Regina says, Ben, ever read The Art of War? Yes, it's one of my favorite books. I've read.
No, The Art of War.
Oh,
that's different than The War of Art.
Wait, did she mean that?
Did you mean The Art of War? The War of Art.
Does anyone ask if you read The Art of War anymore by that Suits? I don't even know how to pronounce it. No, I haven't, but I've read The War of Art. Dang it. I was going to go on a War of Art monologue.
Yeah. Okay. Jennifer, when that happens with my kids, I call it hugging the porcupine, especially now that I have teens.
Oh, that used to be with us.
Oh.
Can't even call me the porcupine.
Heather Q says, send me Rainier. I'll send you Margaret. I'll return him potty trained, and you'll send Maggie back weaned from the boob.
Teague League says, are there any parenting books that you would recommend?
Oh,
I feel like I read a book this year that wasn't terrible.
The Unconditional Parenting one? Oh, you haven't read that one yet.
Oh.
But if you, this is a really challenging
That's not like
book,
helpful
though.
to most people.
Yeah, no. Okay, never mind.
I mean, most people are looking for like tips and tricks of what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing, I hate to do this, but we're recording a podcast tonight. It'll come out on Monday at 6 a.m. And it frames up our whole way that we see kids. And actually, it's also in a video that we made before the AT that's in a playlist called Entrepreneuring the Home Front. I don't know if someone could put that down, but it was the one about redefining family or something like that. But we are so obsessed with how we see kids and have so little emphasis on therefore what you do with them, because I think what you do with them is always a byproduct of how you see them. So almost to me, almost all parenting books are like what to do with them.
Yeah.
And that we don't recommend, and we don't find that stuff helpful for our goals.
I mean, if you know of parents that you really like the way that they interact with their kids, I'd say hang out with them or ask them more.
So we only have a few minutes left, guys.
Yep.
Just trying to catch up a little bit. Thanks again, 7 Rip City 52 for $10. Appreciate that.
Oh, Regina says, yes, most businessmen have the art of war. Huh, didn't know that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. I know it's like a classic. I just have never read it.
Yeah.
Is that where it says like keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Okay, 5 kids and 8 cups of coffee. Oh, I've seen their stuff recently. Said, any suggestion on stopping a cycle of arguing about nothing? Oh yeah, 6 kids. Here, no. This is probably our most recent tactic. Well, I don't know if you approach it the same way I do it. My philosophy for that, or strategy, maybe is a better way to put it, is first of all, I don't ever think it's about nothing. I mean, it might seem like it's nothing, like inconsequentially to us, because it's about like, you know, a nut or M&M or something like that. But it's usually there's honor and respect and ego and things on the line. And that's actually what the argument is about.
Yeah. And
when it's about that, I think it's important not to belittle that. I mean, like, I guess, you know, using you as an example, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but to say, you guys are arguing about nothing. It almost, the kids might agree with you in a way, but it's because they don't realize even why they're arguing. And they're arguing because they probably feel violated, or they feel taken advantage of, or not appreciated. And so with our kids, we do a couple things. One is we just let it pan out.
Yeah.
As long as a younger person is not being taken advantage of or being like just abused, we let the kids sort it out. And then I like to go to the kids, and this is once again kind of like more what I believe what I should do. I don't always have time for this or make time for this. I talk to the kids individually and say, hey, what were you feeling? And what was going on? And why were you saying this?
Yeah.
But I used to cut this off because I was like, oh, I want my kids to be good, and that's bad. So let's make them good by ending the arguments. But I realized they're working their stuff out in their own little way, and they're learning how to relate to other humans. And to cut that process short, I think it's uncomfortable for me to watch it, and I wish it didn't happen, but it's actually the reality of what's going on inside of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, we are wrapping it up. So let's just, Gardner versus Carpenter. Cammy read that. I couldn't handle that book because it was just so scientific to me. Someone's asking about, I think, parenting recommendation books. So, some of these books are helpful to us. Oh, someone's trying to come in the shed. Who is it? Oh, it's you?
It's our 3-year-old.
What's the answer?
Okay, so where are we?
We got a visitor.
Okay, Nancy.
Hang on, I'm coming.
Did you guys ever struggle with infertility? Any suggestions? We struggled with like secondary infertility, I guess you call it, because we had 4 kids right off the bat, no infertility problems, and then we had a hard time getting pregnant a few different times. And gosh, suggestions. I don't know if you're asking how to get pregnant. Don't really have any of those, except for to try to relax. And if it comes, I don't know. Anyways, because sometimes, not that all infertility is this, but sometimes being really anxious about it doesn't help. But I know sometimes that has nothing to do with it. Okay.
Did you answer this one or not?
Yeah. Oh, wait. No. Shella D says,
This is our last question.
yeah. Who do you like to watch on YouTube? Thanks so much for doing your channel. We like H3H3.
Some of PewDiePie stuff.
Some of PewDiePie stuff. Some of Casey Neistat stuff. We watch Logan Paul sometimes, not because
it's like
it's part of our job. We got to know what's out there. And yeah. Oh, come here.
Someone hopped out of bed 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
So Eden was policing him. People are saying hi to you, but you want to say hi? It's kind of weird because you can't see them.
Can't see people, but they can see you. Isn't that funny?
G6 Tribe looks like she's talking about a video we made, so that's great if you guys can help each other out like that by pointing to our previous videos. We actually always really appreciate that in the comments.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a weird live stream. I'm still trying to figure these out. I'm really hoping that they fill void for some of you. I know some people want more, and some people they're like, hey, I can barely keep up with the stuff as it is. So anyways, we're thankful that some of you guys can join us. Also, I have a little task for some of you, okay? Normally I don't do this, but I need your help. But if you are...
Look at all the animals John put up there for you. Do you see all those animals? Yeah.
If you're a podcast listener, write down this phone number right now. Can you type this in there, Cami, for them?
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
It's 206-651-5744.
5744.
Okay. When we finish this.
So do it.
Oh, look at that. She already did that.
Oh.
Here, click show. Jessica B.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Right. Yes. There it is.
Naftali is laughing. Haha, Logan Paul. That's where you can leave questions or comments. And so we're going straight from here, recording a podcast, and we're running out of questions because people aren't leaving them. And I don't know why people aren't leaving them. Maybe they're like hard to think of, or people think their question's not good enough. But if you listen to a podcast right now, leave. All I care about is that it's real. It can be just silly like, or simple.
Hi. How's it going?
That's not a question.
Oh, it is. How's it going?
Oh, okay, you're right. All right.
I'm Rainier and I'm powerful.
Okay, so that's funny. We'll finish with this. We do a 12-step meeting, and we always introduce ourselves. We say, hi, my name is Ben, and I'm powerless. And that's what he just said. He said, hi, I'm Rainier, and I'm powerless. So,
yep.
Okay. Hey, I really do hope this live stream was helpful for a few of you, just this financial talk, because I don't hear this talked about a lot. And it seems
I'm gonna do my boo.
Don't interrupt now, please. I know Dave Ramsey is talking about debt, and a few other people are out there doing that, Mr. Money Mustache. And I hope, I just hope it's helpful for some of you guys out there that have that goal.
Yeah.
Alex is asking, is there a topic for the podcast questions? No, any topic that you want at all, based on seeing our videos or just what you think of the world. Do you have anything? All right. Hey, guys. Thank you for the night. Thank you for anyone that contributed financially. And we really appreciate that. That's so cool. Blew us away.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
And for all the conversation and stories you guys are telling. Tomorrow's vlog, I don't know what it's about. It'll be a mystery. See you guys then. We'll be here next week, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. with the kids. It'll be a kids one, I think. They use it for a chase. All right, good night, guys.
Night.
We'll see you
and make the booty.
Can you say good night?
What? What did you say? Your booty butt?
Say good night. That's so funny.
Night.